Olivia Park glanced down at her muddy sneakers, suddenly aware of how out of place she looked amid the polished marble floors of Prestige Motors. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and tried to ignore the weight of Blake Thompson's judgmental stare. "I'm not looking for the exit," she replied evenly. "I'm looking to purchase a vehicle today." Blake's eyebrows shot up in exaggerated surprise. "Of course," he said with a smirk that suggested the opposite. "And what sort of budget did you have in mind?" He emphasized the word budget as though it were dirty. Olivia straightened her posture. Just 3 hours ago, she'd been sitting in a boardroom, finalizing security protocols that would protect millions of users' data. She'd earned this moment. "I'm interested in the AMG GT," she said, gesturing to the silver masterpiece beside her. "I'd like to test drive it." Blake let out a theatrical sigh. "Ma'am, this vehicle starts at $118,000. Perhaps I could show you our certified pre-owned section." His eyes flicked to a colleague across the showroom, who suppressed a chuckle. "I'm aware of the price," Olivia said. The rainwater had seeped through her jacket now, making her shiver slightly in the over-air-conditioned showroom. "I'd still like to test drive it." Blake's smile tightened. "We require proof of financing before test drives on premium vehicles. Company policy." He recited this with practiced insincerity, knowing full well that the businessman in a tailored suit across the showroom had been handed keys without question. Olivia reached for her phone. "I can show you my bank statement if that helps." She'd never imagined having to prove her worth to someone like Blake, but the car was worth the indignity. "Actually," Blake interrupted, placing his hand over her phone screen, "we're quite busy today. Perhaps you could come back when you're more prepared." His gaze swept over her rain-soaked appearance with undisguised disdain. A hot flush of anger rose to Olivia's cheeks. She'd faced subtle discrimination in the tech world, but never something so blatant, so public. Around them, other customers browsed million-dollar vehicles with salespeople trailing attentively behind them. A man in golf attire was being offered champagne by another associate. "Is there a problem with how I look?" Olivia asked directly, her voice carrying enough to make a nearby couple glance over. Blake's smile vanished. "Look, let's be honest here. This isn't a car for someone like you. These vehicles require a certain lifestyle to maintain." "Someone like me," Olivia repeated, her software engineer's salary of $295,000 plus bonuses suddenly feeling like a secret weapon. "I don't mean to be rude," Blake continued, though his tone suggested otherwise, "but we pride ourselves on matching our clients with appropriate vehicles. I'm simply trying to save you time." Olivia took a deep breath. She thought about walking out. It would be easier. But then she remembered what her mother had always told her. Never let someone else tell you what spaces you belong in. "I'd like to speak with your manager," she said firmly. Blake's face hardened. He glanced at his watch as though she were wasting precious minutes of his day. "Fine. Wait here." He walked away, muttering something under his breath that Olivia couldn't quite catch. While waiting, she ran her fingers along the car's sleek door handle. She'd been coding since she was 12, built her first app at 16, and now led security architecture for one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Yet here she was, being judged by her rain-splattered jeans, rather than the mind that had earned her this moment. Blake returned with an older man whose gold name badge read Victor Reeves, Sales Manager. His smile was practiced, but his eyes were cold. "I understand there's been some confusion," Victor began, his tone suggesting the confusion was entirely on Olivia's part. "Perhaps I can help?" "Yes," Olivia said, meeting Victor's gaze directly. "I'd like to test drive the Mercedes AMG GT, and your associate seems reluctant to assist me." Victor's eyes performed the same dismissive scan of her appearance that Blake's had. He clasped his hands behind his back and rocked slightly on his heels. "Ms." He paused, waiting for her to supply her name. "Park. Olivia Park." "Ms. Park," Victor continued with artificial patience, "Prestige Motors caters to a particular clientele. Our vehicles represent significant investments." He gestured around the showroom. The gentleman over there just purchased his third Bentley from us. The couple by the window. They're finalizing paperwork on a Porsche Taycan." "I understand what you're implying," Olivia said, "but my financial situation isn't something you can determine by looking at me." A small crowd of customers had begun to form around them, attracted by the rising tension. Olivia felt her face burning, but refused to back down. She'd worked too hard to be dismissed like this. "Blake mentioned our financing requirements," Victor said. "We don't typically allow test drives without verification of purchasing power." "I can show you my financials right now," Olivia replied, reaching again for her phone. Victor held up his hand. "That won't be necessary. We're quite busy today, and—" "You didn't ask him for verification," Olivia interrupted, pointing to a man in designer casual wear who was being handed keys to a Maserati. "Is it the mud on my shoes, or is it something else?" The showroom had fallen uncomfortably quiet. Even the soft classical music playing through hidden speakers seemed to fade into the background. Victor's professional veneer cracked slightly. "I think you should leave." "Because I called out your double standard." "Because you're making a scene," he snapped, loud enough for everyone to hear. Victor turned to Blake. "Call security." Blake moved quickly to the reception desk. Olivia stood her ground, though her heart was hammering in her chest. This couldn't really be happening. "This is discrimination," she said, loud enough for the onlookers to hear. "This is private property," Victor countered smoothly, "and we reserve the right to refuse service." Two uniformed security guards appeared beside her with surprising speed. They were both tall men with impassive expressions. "Ma'am, we need you to exit the premises," the first guard said. Olivia looked around, hoping someone might speak up, but the other customers averted their eyes. Some even seemed amused by her predicament. A woman in designer clothing whispered something to her companion, who chuckled in response. "I can walk myself out," Olivia said, her voice surprisingly steady despite the humiliation coursing through her. She turned to leave, determined to maintain whatever dignity she had left. As she walked toward the door, Blake's voice carried clearly across the showroom. "Some people just don't know their place." Laughter rippled through the space. Olivia's steps faltered for a moment, but she forced herself to keep moving, her eyes fixed on the exit. In the reflection of the glass doors, she caught sight of Victor and Blake sharing a triumphant smirk. A well-dressed customer clapped Blake on the shoulder as if congratulating him. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the sky remained dark with clouds. Olivia stood on the sidewalk, trembling with a mixture of rage and humiliation. She had never felt so small, so powerless. A sleek black Bentley pulled into the parking lot, and Olivia watched as 3 salespeople rushed out to greet the driver before he even stepped out of the car. The contrast was so stark, so obvious, that it made her want to scream. Instead, she took a deep breath and reached for her phone. Her hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped it twice before managing to unlock the screen. She scrolled to the contact labeled Minho, her husband's name. Minho would understand. He always did. And unlike her, Minho wasn't the type to let an injustice go unchallenged. As she pressed the call button, Olivia had no way of knowing that this humiliating moment would set in motion events that would change Prestige Motors forever. Minho Park sat at the head of a glass conference table, surrounded by 12 board members and executives. Projected on the wall behind him was a graph showing ParkTex's metalwork rise since their IPO 3 months ago. The room buzzed with energy. They were discussing the acquisition of a smaller AI firm that would cement ParkTex's position as an industry leader. When his phone vibrated against the table, Minho glanced down, ready to silence it. Seeing Olivia's photo on the screen, he paused. His wife never called during his board meetings. They had an understanding about work boundaries that they both respected. "Excuse me," he said, standing abruptly. "I need to take this." The chief financial officer frowned. "Minho, we're about to discuss the valuation." 5 minutes, Minho replied firmly, already moving toward the door. In the hallway, he answered immediately. "Olivia, is everything okay?" The silence on the other end made his stomach tighten. Then he heard her inhale shakily. They kicked me out, she said, her voice smaller than he'd ever heard it. Who did? Where are you? Prestige Motors. I went to look at that Mercedes I've been saving for. She paused. They called security on me, Min-ho. Security. Like I was some kind of criminal. Min-ho leaned against the wall, his free hand curling into a fist. Olivia was the most brilliant person he knew, the architect behind their company's impenetrable security systems, the woman who'd written code that protected millions of users. She was also painfully modest, avoiding the spotlight that came with their success. Tell me exactly what happened, he said, his voice deadly calm. As Olivia recounted the events, Min-ho's expression darkened. When she repeated Blake's comment about knowing her place, something cold and dangerous settled in his chest. Min-ho, Olivia said after finishing her story. Say something. Where are you now? In the car. My old car, she added with a bitter laugh. The one that apparently suits someone like me. Go home, he said gently. Take a hot shower. I'll handle this. No, Min-ho, don't do anything. They humiliated my wife, he cut in, his voice still quiet but vibrating with intensity. That doesn't go unanswered. It's not worth it, Olivia said. It's just a car dealership. It's not about the cars, Min-ho replied. It's about respect. After hanging up, Min-ho stood motionless in the hallway for several seconds. His mind, the same mind that had built a $9.6 billion company from a garage startup, was already calculating possibilities, moves, counter-moves. He returned to the boardroom, his expression unreadable. Everything okay? Asked Sarah, his chief operating officer and oldest friend. No, Min-ho said simply. I need to reschedule this meeting. The room erupted in protests. The acquisition timeline was tight. Investors were waiting. The press announcement was scheduled. Min-ho held up his hand, and the room fell silent. His quiet authority had that effect on people. My wife was just discriminated against and physically removed from Prestige Motors because she didn't look wealthy enough to buy a car there. He scanned the faces around the table. I'm taking the rest of the day to address this personally. Sarah's eyes widened. In the 15 years she'd known Min-ho, she'd never seen the expression he wore now. A cold, focused anger that sent a chill down her spine. What are you going to do? She asked. Min-ho straightened his tie. First, I'm going to make some calls. Then I'm going to teach Prestige Motors about the true cost of judging people by their appearance. As he walked out, Sarah turned to the others. You might want to clear your schedules for tomorrow, too. When Min-ho gets that look, things happen fast. Min-ho stood in the elevator, his reflection fractured across the mirrored walls. He pulled out his phone and made 3 calls in rapid succession, to his head of legal, his personal assistant, and his friend at the Department of Consumer Affairs. By the time he reached his car, the framework of his plan was taking shape. Olivia had stood by him when Park Tech was nothing but an idea. She'd written code for 18 hours straight during their first product launch. She believed in him when no one else did. Now, it was his turn to stand by her. Min-ho's private office at Park Tech headquarters was rarely used. He preferred working alongside his team in the open workspace. Today, however, he needed privacy. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, but Min-ho saw none of it as he paced the room, phone pressed to his ear. Javier, I need everything you can find on Prestige Motors, he said to his head of research. Ownership structure, financials, complaints, lawsuits, everything. While waiting for the information, Min-ho called Nadia Patel, his attorney. I need to know my options for addressing discrimination at a car dealership, he explained. Civil suit would be standard, Nadia replied, though without video evidence. Wait, Min-ho interrupted, remembering something. Olivia was wearing her smartwatch, the one with the auto record feature we developed. The prototype, Nadia asked, the one that activates when stress levels spike. Yes, Min-ho confirmed. If it worked properly, we should have audio and possibly video of the entire incident. 20 minutes later, Min-ho's desk was covered with digital and physical files. Javier had worked with remarkable efficiency. Prestige Motors is owned by James Hamilton, Javier explained over video conference. He's facing financial trouble, 3/4 of losses, and his divorce is getting ugly. His ex-wife's lawyers are digging into the company finances. Min-ho studied the profit margins, noting their steady decline, and the complaints. Javier's expression darkened. That's where it gets interesting. 23 discrimination complaints in 3 years, all settled quietly with NDAs. Send me the complainant's contact information, Min-ho said. Already compiled, Javier replied. But there's more. Hamilton had a business partner until last year, Sophia Williams. She was bought out under questionable circumstances. Min-ho raised an eyebrow. Find her. I want to talk to her personally. After Javier disconnected, Min-ho turned to the list of past customers who'd filed complaints. Using a secure line, he began making calls. Most were hesitant to speak at first, bound by their NDAs, but Min-ho's reputation and assurances of confidentiality gradually opened doors. The pattern that emerged was disturbingly consistent. People of color, women, and younger customers had faced systematic mistreatment. Those who didn't fit the dealership's image of wealth were either ignored or actively humiliated. They asked if I was there to clean the showroom. A successful surgeon told him. When I said I wanted to buy the Porsche, they laughed. By early evening, Min-ho had spoken with 12 former customers. His normally methodical notes had become increasingly terse, his handwriting sharper. His assistant knocked softly. Ms. Williams is on line 2, and the file you requested from the DMV has arrived. Min-ho nodded his thanks. Sophia Williams, this is Min-ho Park. I know exactly who you are, came the crisp reply. Your assistant mentioned Prestige Motors. I've been waiting for someone to finally look into that place. I understand you were a partner there. Sophia's laugh was bitter. Until James decided luxury cars were a man's business. He systematically pushed me out after 20 years of building that company together. Would you be willing to meet tomorrow? Min-ho asked. I'd clear my schedule to help take James down, she replied without hesitation. After ending the call, Min-ho opened the DMV file. It contained registration information for every luxury vehicle sold in the city over the past 5 years. He focused on the most expensive models, noting patterns in customer demographics. As night fell, Min-ho made one final call to a former ParkTech employee who now worked at the city transportation department. Aaron, I need a favor. 3 specific vehicles, fully staffed, at my house tomorrow at 7 a.m. When he finally returned home, the lights were dim. He found Olivia in their library, curled up in an armchair with a technical manual, her form of comfort reading. She looked up as he entered. You've been busy. Min-ho sat across from her. I've learned some things about Prestige Motors that go far beyond what happened to you today. What are you planning? She asked, recognizing the determined set of his jaw. Min-ho took her hand. Tomorrow, we're going to show them exactly what they missed when they judged you by your appearance. We? Olivia asked, surprised. If you're comfortable with it, Min-ho said, this isn't just about revenge. It's about changing how they do business forever. The morning dawned clear and bright, a stark contrast to yesterday's rain. Olivia stood beside Min-ho in their driveway, watching as 3 gleaming Rolls-Royces pulled up in perfect formation. The vehicles, a Phantom, a Ghost, and a Cullinan SUV, were a mobile display of wealth more ostentatious than anything Min-ho would normally consider. Subtle, Olivia remarked with a hint of sarcasm. Min-ho's lips quirked in a rare smile. Today isn't about subtlety. A team emerged from the vehicles. Min-ho's legal counsel Nadia, 2 paralegals, Javier, and surprisingly, Sophia Williams, the former partner at Prestige Motors. From the last car stepped Mayor Gloria Chin, whose anti-discrimination initiative had been making headlines. Olivia, this is Sophia, Min-ho said. She built Prestige Motors with Hamilton before he forced her out. Sophia, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s, clasped Olivia's hand. When Minho called, I canceled my flight to Boston. I wouldn't miss this for anything. Olivia turned to Minho. You didn't tell me the mayor would be involved. Gloria is an old friend, Minho explained, and she's been looking for a high-profile case to highlight her new business ethics initiative. The mayor approached. What happened to you, Ms. Park, is unfortunately common, but uncommonly, we have evidence. She nodded to a young man setting up camera equipment, and today we make an example. Minho handed Olivia a garment bag. Your choice entirely. You can stay home, come dressed as you are, or... Olivia unzipped the bag to reveal a perfectly tailored power suit. She considered for a moment, then zipped it closed again. I'll come as I am, in my jeans, just like yesterday. Minho nodded, a flicker of pride in his eyes. 30 minutes later, the procession of Rolls-Royces pulled into Prestige Motors' parking lot, stopping directly in front of the main entrance. Inside the showroom, Blake Thompson was positioning himself near the door, coffee in hand, ready to intercept the first customers of the day. Through the glass, they watched his expression transform from professional readiness to shock as the three luxury vehicles aligned at the entrance. When Minho stepped out wearing ripped jeans and a simple hoodie, an exact mirror of Olivia's outfit from the day before, Blake nearly dropped his coffee. Ready? Minho asked, offering Olivia his hand. She took a deep breath and nodded. As the entire group entered the showroom, heads turned. Customers browsing vehicles paused mid-conversation. A salesperson showing a Bentley to an elderly couple stopped mid-sentence. Blake recovered quickly, practically sprinting across the polished floor. Welcome to Prestige Motors, he exclaimed, his eyes darting between Minho and the Rolls-Royces outside. How can I assist you today? Minho regarded him coolly. I'd like to speak with James Hamilton and Victor Reeves. Of course, sir, Blake said, not recognizing Olivia in the group. May I tell them what this is regarding? Cars, Minho replied simply, very expensive ones. Blake's smile widened. Right this way, please. As they followed Blake through the showroom, Olivia noted how differently the staff reacted compared to yesterday. Despite Minho's casual attire, the presence of the Rolls-Royces outside had transformed him into a VIP in their eyes. They were ushered into a private office where James Hamilton was hurriedly clearing signs of his morning whiskey from his desk. His eyes widened when he saw Sophia among the group. What's the meaning of this, Sophia? He demanded. Before she could answer, Victor Reeves rushed in, his face flushed with excitement. Mr. Hamilton, there are 3 Rolls-Royces outside with. He froze when he spotted Olivia. Mayor Chen stepped forward. Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Reeves, good morning. I'm Mayor Gloria Chen. Hamilton's face paled. Madam Mayor, this is unexpected. Yes, Minho said, moving to stand beside Olivia. I imagine it is. Allow me to introduce myself properly. I'm Minho Park, CEO of ParkTech. Recognition dawned on Hamilton's face as Minho wrapped his arm around Olivia's shoulders. And this, Minho continued, his voice hardening, is my wife, Olivia Park, the woman your staff humiliated and removed from your showroom yesterday. The silence in Hamilton's office was absolute. Victor Reeves had gone deathly pale. While Blake hovered in the doorway, his smug demeanor evaporated. There must be some misunderstanding. Hamilton began, forcing a laugh. We treat all our customers with the utmost respect. Save it. Minho cut him off, his voice quiet but commanding. We both know that's not true. Gavier stepped forward, setting up a small projector that cast its light on the wall behind Hamilton's desk. The office lights dimmed automatically. Yesterday at approximately 2:17 p.m., Minho continued, my wife entered this showroom to purchase a vehicle with cash. She was systematically humiliated, discriminated against, and ultimately physically removed from the premises. That's a serious allegation, Hamilton said, looking toward Victor for support, without evidence. I'm so glad you mentioned evidence. Minho interrupted. He nodded to Gavier, who tapped his tablet. Suddenly, Crystal clear audio filled the room. Some people just don't know their place. Blake's voice was unmistakable, followed by laughter. The color drained from Blake's face. I never. My wife was wearing a prototype from our R&D department, Minho explained. A smartwatch that automatically records when it detects elevated stress levels in the wearer. The recording continued, capturing every degrading comment, every instance of discrimination. As it played, Hamilton sank into his chair, his eyes darting between Minho, the mayor, and Sophia. This isn't just about yesterday, Minho said when the recording ended. My team has identified 23 formal complaints of discrimination against your dealership in the past 3 years, all quietly settled with NDAs. Nadia opened her briefcase, removing a thick folder. Copies of the complaints, the settlements, and statements from 12 former customers who have agreed to break their NDAs despite the financial penalties. You can't, Hamilton began. They can and they have, Sophia interjected, because I've agreed to cover any financial penalties as the former co-owner of this establishment. Mayor Chen stepped forward. Mr. Hamilton, as you know, our city recently passed the Business Ethics and Anti-Discrimination Ordinance. Under this legislation, businesses with documented patterns of discrimination face review of their operating licenses and potential suspension of city contracts. Hamilton's face had turned ashen. What do you want from me? Minho studied him for a moment. Initially, I planned to simply buy this dealership and fire everyone responsible. He paused. But this isn't just about my wife or your staff. This is about a systemic problem in how luxury businesses treat people who don't fit their narrow image of wealth. The camera crew that had accompanied them began to set up their equipment, positioning lights and microphones. Hamilton's eyes widened in alarm. What is this? He demanded. Documentation, Mayor Chen explained, for the first case study in our city's new business ethics initiative. Whether that's a story of accountability and change, or a cautionary tale of what happens to discriminatory businesses, is entirely up to you. Minho placed 2 documents on Hamilton's desk. Option 1. I purchased Prestige Motors for $4.2 million, the current market value accounting for your recent losses. Blake and Victor are terminated immediately. You issue a public apology, and we implement complete overhaul of your hiring and customer service practices. Or, Hamilton asked hoarsely. Option 2. We proceed with formal discrimination charges. My legal team provides all evidence to the manufacturers whose cars you sell. The mayor's office reviews your business license, and I personally guarantee your luxury certifications will be revoked within 30 days. The room fell silent except for the quiet hum of the camera equipment. Blake had backed against the wall, while Victor seemed frozen in place. You're destroying my business either way, Hamilton said bitterly. No. Olivia spoke for the first time. Option 1 transforms your business. Option 2 ends it. Minho checked his watch. The film crew needs 30 minutes to set up properly. You have until then to decide. Hamilton stared at the 2 documents on his desk as though they were venomous snakes. The room had cleared somewhat. The camera crew was setting up in the main showroom, while Minho had instructed everyone except Olivia, Nadia, and the mayor to wait outside. You planned this meticulously, Hamilton said finally, looking up at Minho with a mixture of resentment and grudging respect. I'm a problem solver, Minho replied simply. This is a problem that needs solving. Hamilton turned to Sophia, who stood by the door. And you? Is revenge worth destroying what we built together? Sophia's expression remained impassive. What we built together was destroyed the moment you decided I didn't belong because I'm a woman. This isn't revenge, James. It's accountability. Outside the office, they could hear the murmur of voices as curious customers gathered, watching the camera crew prepare. Word was spreading quickly. Several people had their phones out, recording the unusual scene. The press will be here in 15 minutes, Mayor Chen noted, checking her phone. I've alerted them about a major announcement regarding our city's business ethics initiative. Hamilton's shoulders slumped. This is extortion. No, Nadia corrected. This is an extremely generous settlement offer given the evidence of systematic discrimination. The alternative is what would happen naturally through legal channels and public disclosure. Blake, who had been silent since the recording played, suddenly stepped forward. "Mr. Hamilton, you can't seriously be considering selling to these people. This is just a shakedown because one customer felt offended." "Blake," Hamilton cut him off sharply. "You've done enough damage." "But sir, your employment is terminated, effective immediately," Hamilton said, his voice hardening. "Please clear out your desk. Security will escort you." Blake's face contorted with rage. He turned to Olivia. "This is your fault. You came in here looking like that. What were we supposed to think?" Minho took a step toward Blake, but Olivia placed a restraining hand on his arm. "What were you supposed to think?" she repeated calmly. "You were supposed to think that I was a customer deserving of respect, regardless of my appearance." She paused. "Your prejudice cost you your job. Your attitude will cost you your career." Blake stormed out, shoving past Sophia in the doorway. Hamilton watched him go, then turned back to the documents. "Victor too?" Minho nodded. "Non-negotiable." Hamilton called for his secretary. "Tell Victor Reeves his position has been terminated." The next 15 minutes passed in tense silence as Hamilton reviewed the purchase agreement with Nadia. Outside, the crowd in the showroom had grown as customers, employees, and now several journalists observed the unusual activity. Finally, Hamilton looked up. "I want one modification. I don't want this to destroy my reputation entirely. The press release should state that I'm selling to focus on other ventures, not because I was forced out." Minho considered this. The press release can say that, but the discrimination stops now, and the apology happens publicly today. Hamilton nodded slowly, then reached for his pen. "Who exactly am I apologizing to?" "To every customer you discriminated against," Mayor Chen said firmly, "starting with Ms. Park." Hamilton signed both copies of the agreement, then pushed them across the desk to Minho. "Satisfied?" "Not yet," Minho replied, signing his own name. "The apology will determine that." As they prepared to exit the office and face the gathered crowd, Hamilton paused. "You could have ruined me completely. Why offer to buy the dealership at all?" Minho glanced at Olivia before answering. "Because destroying things is easy. Building something better is what matters." He opened the door. "Now, I believe you have an apology to make." The bright lights of the cameras greeted them as they stepped into the showroom. Minho pulled out his phone and dialed a number, putting it on speaker. "Olivia deserves to hear your apology directly," he explained to Hamilton. "But she also deserves to see your face when you make it." He handed his phone to Hamilton, who looked confused until the video call connected. On the screen was Olivia's face, even though she stood right beside him. "What is this?" Hamilton asked. Minho smiled for the first time that day. "This is a live stream to all 23 people who filed complaints against your dealership. They deserve to hear this too." 6 months later, Olivia pulled her custom Mercedes AMG GT into the parking lot of what was now called Horizon Motors. The transformation was immediately evident. The imposing cold facade had been replaced with warm lighting and large windows that made the showroom visible from the street. The intimidating security guards were gone, replaced by a friendly concierge at the entrance. As Olivia stepped out of her car, she smiled at the new sign prominently displayed near the entrance. "Everyone deserves exceptional service." Inside, the changes were even more dramatic. Gone were the leather club chairs and cigar room atmosphere that had once made the showroom feel like an exclusive men's club. Instead, the space now featured comfortable seating areas, interactive displays about each vehicle, and most noticeably, a diverse staff that reflected the city's population. "Olivia," Sophia Williams called, walking briskly across the showroom floor. As the new general manager, Sophia had been instrumental in the dealership's transformation. They embraced warmly. "The place looks amazing," Olivia said, glancing around. "Wait until you see the community wall," Sophia replied, leading her to a large display near the center of the showroom. The wall featured photographs of customers with their new vehicles, people of all backgrounds, ages, and styles. Among them was a photo of Olivia sitting in her Mercedes, taken the day she picked it up 3 months ago. That's not all, Sophia continued, pointing to a digital screen nearby. This tracks our customer satisfaction metrics broken down by demographics. Complete transparency. How's business? Olivia asked. Sophia grinned, up 28% since the relaunch. Turns out, treating everyone with respect is actually good for the bottom line. Who knew? They made their way to the service department, where Olivia had scheduled her car's first maintenance appointment. Your husband changed everything, but kept himself completely out of the spotlight, Sophia remarked. Most billionaires would have plastered their name all over the place. Olivia smiled. That's Minho. He prefers to change things from behind the scenes. As they walked through the service area, Olivia noticed a young woman in scrubs being attended to by several technicians. The woman looked tired, probably coming off a hospital shift, but the staff was treating her with the same deference they'd once reserved for their wealthiest clients. That's Dr. Patel, Sophia explained. She's a resident at City Hospital. Came in last week looking for something reliable for her commute. Ended up with that Audi over there. Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from Minho. How's the service? Also, the board wants to know if you like the new rolls they dropped off this morning. She laughed, typing back. It's a bit much for grocery shopping, don't you think? Minho's response came instantly. Then we'll donate it to the hospital shuttle service. But keep the Mercedes, it suits you. As Olivia pocketed her phone, she noticed a framed article on the wall near the service desk. It was from the business section of the city newspaper, titled From Discrimination to Distinction: How Horizon Motors Became the Model for Ethical Luxury Retail. The piece detailed the transformation but made only passing mention of Minho's involvement, focusing instead on the systemic changes and Sophia's leadership. That had been part of Minho's condition, that the story wouldn't center on him or Olivia, but on the larger issue of discrimination in luxury retail. You know, Sophia said, following Olivia's gaze to the article, what happened that day changed more than just this dealership. 3 other luxury retailers in the city have overhauled their practices. The mayor's initiative has become a national model. Olivia watched as Dr. Patel signed the final papers for her new Audi, beaming with pride. Sometimes, Olivia said thoughtfully, being kicked out of the right place at the right time can change everything. As she prepared to leave, Olivia passed a wall where the dealership's new mission statement was elegantly displayed. At Horizon Motors, we judge people not by their appearance, but by their dreams. And below it, in smaller text, every customer's journey matters.